Welcome to the Be Dadly podcast, where we discuss all things dadly, from being an entrepreneur while caring for toddlers to raising screenagers and talking the birds and the bees. We're here to help you traverse the vast and dynamic landscape of fatherhood. Enjoy practical advice, lots of puns, and even a few heart-touching moments.
And the dad jokes are pretty good too.
And now your host, Brandon Jones.
And just like that, we are back. Welcome to the show, you guys. I'm Brandon Jones, your host. We are here with my good buddy now, Travis Sutherland, and he is going to share so many cool things with us because he's up to a lot. And if you're seeing this on video, he even has a little child on him right as we speak. It is absolutely adorable. And he's just the dad that's up to so much and is carrying it with so much grace. And I'm really excited to get in the show. I think we'll have a lot of fun. Thank you so much for being here, Travis.
It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Tell us a story about Utopia, something special about Utopia. Do you dig in there and tell me a moment, a transformative moment maybe that really gripped you? And you're also the operator, so that's also maybe a little bit.
I know. Yeah, it takes a lot to like get in there. And I mean, usually, I don't know, usually if we're lucky by like Saturday night, it's like kind of all going on autopilot. It's all kind of like equalized.
It's moved itself. It's its own organism at that point.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I guess most of the time it's like all just like the little minutia and just like fires and everything. But I don't know. And over the years too, the team has really gotten better and better, and it's become more of a well-oiled machine too. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's been so many, but
I tell you what, it doesn't even have to be from Utopia. Tell me a moment at a festival. Obviously, festivals are near and dear to your heart at this point. Mm-hmm. Tell me a moment at a festival that was like it really was like a life-changing moment, or is a moment that shaped you in some way or form.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do have a Utopia one. It was like during the third year, which was like the first year that it had kind of grown from like 300 to like 1,500 people. And I finally did get to a point where I could like watch the show. This is in 2011. And so I just was able to get out there kind of like in the perfect like center viewing, perfect vantage point, like, and with the system. And I just just had this moment where we had this band from Australia. It was their first festival in America, Art versus Science. It was so fun. So how, most people had no idea who they were, but they were just like totally crushing it. And I'm there, like perfect view. And I see like the stage that we built, and I see like the backdrop that my friend made. And like, it's just in the lighting, like, and it's all just like blending, and the sound is all just working together just to make this like next level thing. And for the first time, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, wow, like this is wild. Like this is something, like with the energy of all the people out there. I'm like, like this is going somewhere. This is a thing. And just, I don't know. It was one of the first times that it was just, it felt bigger and more significant. But, I still had no idea, but that was the first time I'm like, this, I think we could be onto something here. Like this is a thing. And just, I don't know, just teared up and but just overwhelmed by the whole thing and how it all come together.
Yeah. So you kind of caught your own wave, if you will. Like there's all this work, exactly. There's all this momentum, there's all these things you've been working towards, and suddenly you're in this moment, on the stage, the people,
the beginning of the wave, though, even. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
it was exactly. It's the very beginning of your the surfing of Utopiafest that you have going on here.
Yeah. And then one that a lot of people always talk about was in 2012 when we had like a crazy monsoon all day. But we were really lucky to have the late Charles Bradley there, who I doubt many people got to see him in a space or a place like this. It was crazy rain. We had to like delay, and like we like switched his set with another one. For some reason, he was like having to hang out like in my mom's living room and like serenaded her, which is one of her favorite memories. And people weren't sure if he was going to come back and play everything, because it was crazy out there. But he ended up coming, And at one point during a set, we discovered like this power thing that was like underwater, and we had to like shut it down, so the show down for like 10 or 15 minutes and bring it back. And at one point he like, the microphone like shocked him on stage.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And he came back another year and was like, it was the shock of love. But at the end of his set, like he was just overwhelmed though by how everyone just went deeper and just like was just in it. Like, you know, when you're driving 3 hours and you're out there, like, what else are we gonna do? We're just gonna make this happen and just go for it. So everyone is just there and just loving it. And he's just like so overwhelmed. And at the end of the show, he just like jumps out into the crowd. Like he has like all these like super like performance clothes on, shiny shoes and everything, and just jumps in the mud. And there was like mud, like ankle deep mud, at least in there, and just like starts hugging everyone, which was so special and so surreal. And then so that was one of everyone's favorite moments. And what was crazy about him, he kind of became an embodiment of like so much of what it was about, because he just has such a love and unifying message and everything. And he came back in 2015 in perfect weather and perfect, amazing show. But then in 2017, I think it was like our last year at Four Sisters, he actually passed like while we were out there during the festival. While we were out there, we all heard he passed, which was really wild. So we all found out together, and we were able to like scramble and get a tribute video of him playing out there. And so everyone was kind of in the circle, like kind of grieving it and finding out together. So that, I don't know, it was crazy. We had some kind of weird cosmic connection with Charles, but
that's beautiful, man.
There's some, yeah.
It's, man, you know, it's funny. I was at that moment that I was talking about with lightning in a bottle is about, in a way, she was cultivating our presence. And as I listen to you and I think about how Utopia is bringing people out, you know, getting them away from, you know, the noise, getting them away from the city, getting them out into the country, playing in the woods, like maybe somewhat of your childhood, you know, like, you know, going out into the wooded area, being on a farm or a ranch, and really, really helping people feel that presence that really feels like heaven on earth when we get there. I'm super stoked to come out and experience that joy.
Thanks.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's well said too. And one of the challenges that we've always had, I mean, like I hate like trying to promote and market and stuff. That's always been the hardest thing, because you really can't what you just said, like you can't put that like on a poster, right? Like it's like heaven on earth. Like people are like, oh, that sounds good. Yeah,
right.
That's silly. And then you can't capture it. You can't capture it into words. Like videos kind of do it. Posters can't do it. And it's not till you actually get out there, and it happens every time, every year people get out there. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I understand why people are so like fanatic about this, and why people come back year after year after year. Like you could feel, like as soon as you get there, you feel it, but it's hard to describe it. So,
you know, what's interesting is it sounds like, you know, because there's Burning Man, right? Which is, it has that effect, but it also has a very it's got a very circusy
baggage. Yeah.
It's like a circus act as well, where this one sounds a lot more wholesome. And like, I could see me bringing my kids and having fun. Not that I wouldn't necessarily bring my kids to Burning Man, but I probably at a certain age, you know, like I don't know why, but there's just,
yeah, of course there's elements in there that are age appropriate, and it's just such a different scale. I mean, that's what's beautiful about having like the really smaller ones, because like you run into most of the same people all weekend.
You keep seeing them.
Yeah. And it's kids have always, and I remember someone saying that exact same thing. Like when you're like, see all the kids are like, yeah, it just feels wholesome. And like, I don't know, the kids kind of set a certain tone and keep people a little bit more
grounded.
And grounded, and a little bit more reeled in, you know, but of course people still like rage, you know,
of course.
So I mean, you can go at it, you know, any way you want, and you're going to have a great time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the kids have always been a good, a really important part of it. And it's people always say that's one of the only places they feel safe, like giving their kids a little bit of a longer leash stuff too.
Yeah.
So we always want to maintain that. There's areas for families like to camp. There's areas for them to hang out during the day and all that good stuff.
Camping has been such an important part of my upbringing. Grew up with a father that did a lot of fishing and hunting, and going fishing with my father is an adventure because this man is, he's an addict. It's just, there's no two ways to say it. I mean, the guy goes fishing, I think 5 days a week. He lives to fish and to hunt. And so we'd go on these trips sometimes where my dad would literally come pick us up. It'd be like a Thursday and I'd be in school. Although my dad says he likes to remember it as it would be Friday and it would be just after lunchtime after they took full attendance and you were going to get the pass for you've been there for the day. But I'm like, I seem to remember us having a lot of 3-day weekends, but maybe it was just that it was Friday afternoon. But he would come get us and you'd hear over the intercom. We would even know a lot of the times. My dad's a very impromptu kind of person. He's just, he gets a little wild hair and next thing you know, we're on an adventure. But he would, all of a sudden the intercom would say, can we have Brandon Jones, the front office? His father's here to get him. And I'd be like, we're going fishing. I know what this is. That's awesome. So I'd show up at the front office and my dad would literally be in full fishing attire. And I'd be like, and he's like, all the boys have an appointment. He would just say like an appointment. And the appointment was in the woods is where, so then me and my brothers would hop in the truck and next thing you know, we would be on our way. And then if we didn't find fish where my father would take us, if we didn't find fish, he's like pulling up the maps and he's like, and at the time I even remember it, this is really before we had smartphones or anything. We're literally looking at it like an atlas basically. And my dad's like, okay, the next lake is over here. We're going to take this highway here and this one. And we're going to go put it in this boat ramp. I'm going to call him right now, see what the fishing report is. And that would go on like until Sunday. It would be like 3 days of just camping, fishing, hunting different spots, like looking at different things. And so, part of it was like, okay, we're getting away from our neighborhood. We're getting away from our city. Then we're getting out into the woods. Then we're getting further. And at the time I lived in Florida and other places in Texas. And so we're literally going off into these state parks, wooded areas, beautiful scenes and completely disconnecting from everything. And now for me, it's like medicine for my soul. Like it's something I need to do every now and then. I need to get out and get the crackling of a fire. And I need to, hear the birds chirping and not know where my cell phone is, but like, I don't even know where it is. It's somewhere in the truck or it's, somewhere in the tent and just be away from everything. And, I think there is something so natural to it. Like, I don't care if you live, how much of a city life you've been living. When you go and experience that, there's something inside you goes, oh, this is familiar. Even if you've never really done it, it really has something there. At least I think it's got something for all of us to go get out there and get into the woods.
It's necessary.
So Travis, tell me something. Tell me all the projects you have going.
This dad thing is obviously the chief amongst them with the 6-week-old. And we have a 21-month-old. And we lost our full-time nanny like right after this new one, Simone, was born. So that kind of jumped up the ranks. My wife and I own and operate a grocery store / pharmacy / music venue called Zoe Market in Buda. And it kind of came out of her acupuncture and herbal medicine, traditional Chinese medicine clinic called Zoe Acupuncture there in Buda on Main Street as well. What I've been doing for the past decade or so is music business, running a festival called Utopiafest, and it's branched off into a smaller version of itself called Viva Utopia. And then we do other associated events throughout the year. Everything's kind of converging on the Zoe Market. That's kind of be the brick and mortar of the Utopia Fest world, and do more regular shows and events there.
So how many days is Utopia Fest?
It is a 2.5 day event basically in the fall, October 13th, 14th, and 15th this year. And Viva Utopia is coming up in a couple weeks now.
What's that one like?
It's the kind of distillation of Utopia Fest into the roots. It's basically feels like the first year we ever did Utopia Fest, which is just a few hundred people out on the ranch that I grew up on in Utopia, and just one stage and camping and bring whatever you want. And we have like one food vendor, but everyone's kind of self-sufficient at this point. Most of the people that go to that have been out there for years and years. So it's kind of just like a very much a family and friend reunion type of vibe.
So you got these two little ones. You've got the market and you've got the festival. By the way, I was in your market the other day. That thing is incredible. I was blown away.
It's
mainly
wild.
Because when you leave Austin, for those of you who aren't familiar with Texas, when you leave Austin and you're used to, for example, healthy food, supplements, having the access to even like good medication for your children, it just falls right off the map. I mean, you just leave, and as soon as you leave the overall zip code of Travis, it just starts to fall off. And the further you get out, you get to a point where you have access to almost nothing that would be healthy. And I went to Buda, Texas, which, by the way, is not the place you instantly think of for health and wellness. For me, this is my personal lens. And I walked into your market and I was like, this is incredible. This is literally so well. Everything has been so like the procurement of all of these products, you can tell these are intentional people. They have a high degree of consciousness. They are very aware of the ecological and biological threats that we all face. And they're here to serve people from the inside out. And I was like blown away.
Doubt. Yeah, we really try to like encompass as many different healing and wellness modalities as possible. I mean, like I said, it started from the acupuncture and herbal medicine clinic. You know, they've been tincturing medicine for a long time now, and we just kind of got the opportunity to get a space downtown and expand the herb pharmacy. And then we decided just to bring in the food element because even for us, like my wife Noah has celiac, and then I did her food test and found out my kind of food sensitivity issues. And we really focus on getting all organic as much as possible and all that good stuff. So like even for our family, we had to drive like at least 40 minutes round trip to go to a decent store to meet our needs. So man, Buda really needs something like this. So we just started really, really small. And actually we were in this other building on the same block that was a fraction of that size, but the owner of like the entire block ended up coming by, and we just kind of hit it off, and he loved our concept and vision and invited us into this bigger space. And so that's enabled us to get into even more modalities, like more of this kind of spa and home and beauty element, and then like more, kids, non-toxic toys and food and pet stuff. And now we also just kind of had this event space kind of dropped in our lap as well, where we have this really nice backyard, and then this whole half of the main building, which is just the stunning, 100-year-old, super well renovated space. Just half of the building was totally wide open just for anything we can imagine. So we're bringing in more of the like the soul wellness aspects in there with just really good music and fellowship and all that. And we're actually about to be building the bar where we're going to expand the natural and organic wine selection and beer, but we're also going to do medicinal non-alcoholic cocktails at first with some of our herbs, and eventually we will probably bring in spirits and do some like actual medicinal spirits as well, but then it'll just be full coffee and tea and a lot of good shows. We're going to be hosting more events, hopefully with people like you and other organizations and some of our favorite brands that are doing cool stuff. We're going to try to get in to educate and inspire and all that.
Man, that's great. It's kind of cliche. They say, they usually use as it's nothing to write home about. But I actually found myself writing home about your space. I picked up my phone and I wrote my former partner and I said, hey, I don't know if you're looking. She's been looking for a place to buy. I said, I don't know if you've looked in Buda, but I'm in this market right now. And with this market and this little downtown strip, which is so charming, like I would consider Buda, like it's literally your space cool. Made me think I might be able to live down in, this area. It's obviously coming to life in a different way than you would think of these small Texas towns. And I was really impressed. Do you guys live in Buda?
We did for the first few years we were married, but we actually just moved out to Lockhart, which is where we are now. We were kind of like priced out of Buda temporarily temporarily. I mean, that's the goal, to be there, or, somewhere around there, Wimberley or Driftwood. But we got a lot more house for the buck out here in Lockhart, but which we also love though. I mean, there's a lot of really good energy out here and a lot of charm in the Lockhart downtown. And we have a lot of friends out here too. And it's only 25 minutes or so from the market. So we're happy here too. But yeah, Buda is exciting now. I mean, there's so much going on that historic downtown strip, and they have an amazing new city park that has a 20,000 person amphitheater and an amazing kids playscape and stuff, and a full basketball court and all that, covered pavilion. They have the Valentinas coming in and a lot of cool stuff, and we're friends with a lot of the business owners there. So yeah, it's a great place to be. And I say it's basically South Austin, and it's only going to get more and more
connected. Yeah, right. And just so you guys know, as a listener, the reason I want to paint this picture is because sometimes it's overwhelming, for example, to be raising kids and building businesses. And then I meet somebody, for example, like Travis, who's got a festival and a market, and they're doing all these crazy things. And I'm like, man, this actually helps me get a different perspective and really kind of be like, okay, it's okay. We got this. It's working. We're all in the path. How do you manage your day? And your wife and you have a really close team. What's it like for you guys managing these businesses while also raising a little one?
Yeah, it's definitely organized and controlled chaos. I mean, and like I said, since we lost our nanny, which was such nice stability, we had 4 days of care for our toddler. Since then, I mean, we've just been kind of juggling it and dividing and conquering and doing everything we can. And I mean, we'll bring them all in there. One of our partners and the market, our managers, has 3 young boys, and they were nanny sharing, and they've been going to trying different schools and stuff. But yeah, so she lost the nanny care too. So sometimes we'll have all 3, or sometimes there'll be 2 or all 4 kids. Sometimes there'll be 2 or 3 running around, and I don't know. We just kind of take it day by day and do everything we can, everything we're able to. Of course, we have different people in our lives, like my dad and stepmom live nearby. We have some other family in the area. So we're trying to work out a deal now where just one person will manage or hang out with Sterling 1 day a week for now, until we can get a different situation. But we've been doing more just work from home like this, with babies strapped on or just one running around. But
it's pretty crazy. Endearing. I just want to say that it really is to see the child with you while you're doing this podcast and stuff. It's actually very sweet. And to hear, for example, the kids running around in the market, it kind of reminds me of an older time, where right. Our kids were a part of our building a business. Our kids were a part of growing the farm,
Sure.
And I feel like you guys are kind of bringing it back. I know it's probably a lot.
It's out of necessity for sure. But I mean, yeah, I think we're all looking forward to them getting a little bit older.
Mm-hmm. What makes you and your wife so passionate, for example, about bringing something like Utopiafest to Texas, or bringing that market? What is it that really drives all of that?
Obviously so many things, but they've all just kind of grown organically and just kind of gone a lot further and evolved differently than we could have imagined. When, for instance, I had that 200 person party out in the pasture, didn't really think much of it. And she, started at one room, acupuncture operation. And I mean, they've both just kind of took on lives of their own, and just, yeah. And we've just gone along with it. Like I said, taking it day by day. And one of her sayings is just kind of a long obedience in the same direction, where we just say yes and keep moving forward and keep the things alive and just make decisions the best we can every day. But I don't know, I think we both just have a lot of passion for just life and vibrant living. And we've both gotten way into wellness, and she's obviously inspired a lot of that in me. I had a book of herbs in my truck I was just kind of dipping my toe in when we met. And that's really just blown my mind to learn more about Eastern medicine and all that. And I've always just been passionate about providing experiences to people, and just, lifetime worth of memories, and fully living, and connection and family is a huge motivator for us. We both have really big extended families that we're in touch with, and we value just the family unit a lot, and just local community, being involved in community, building community. And it's kind of interesting just how, like I said, kind of all of our passions and experiences have kind of converged on this one little building and one little area. And who knows, that could go on for decades, or it could be over tomorrow, but we just kind of stay flexible flexible and stay open to what's next and just kind of roll with it.
Tell me real quick, how did you meet your wife?
Kind of just in the same circles of like the South Austin musician community. We were around kind of in each other's orbit for a while and kind of got introduced one day. But when we first met, we were both in other relationships then, but we were just kind of acquainted for about a year, but we'd always just kind of say hi. But a year later, she was actually at a show that I booked for the first time. Like we weren't seeing other people, and we like were kind of able to have our first conversation and just connected like crazy on a really deep level, and ended up just spending like hanging out for hours that night. And I ended up I was going out to the ranch that weekend. I invited her to come, and we just spent a weekend just hiking around and just going super deep on a lot of different issues, and just really connected on our core values and faith, especially like both being really into Jesus and the Bible, and having that foundation in our families and in our own lives was definitely a big one. But we just connected on a lot of different fundamental things, and by the end of the weekend, basically we were like, I think we're gonna get married, aren't we? And we're like, yeah. And we looked at our calendar, and it was just ridiculous with everything we had going on. So we're like, actually, it looks like the best week might be like in 4 weeks. So
are you serious?
That I'm not kidding. Yeah, we just went with that. We're like, sounds good. So we picked that date, and we went on a little tour introducing each other to our families, and also being like, so this is your new daughter or cousin, or
that's awesome.
Yeah. And we went through with it, and we had like 150 people and the wedding in Utopia, and it was really lovely. And yeah, we just haven't looked back since. And it's just one of those
that
things.
Is amazing.
One of the definitely the if you know thing was true in this case. And I think we were just both at a time of our lives where we'd seen enough and been through enough that once we saw the real thing, we're like, yeah, this is it. Like, and we're not getting any younger, so let's go for it.
That is absolutely amazing. I had no idea that when I was like, how'd you meet your wife? I had no idea you were going to tell such an amazing story, because that's a trip. You don't hear about that every day. That is for sure. And what a beautiful thing, man. Yeah.
No, we've been definitely miraculous, and we've been super blessed by that happening, and just meeting each other at the right time, and just everything that's come out of it since has just been just incredible.
Utopia, Texas, man. What was that like growing up in Utopia, and what was your family situation like?
Man, it was amazing. My family has had a ranch out there for about 100 years, and my mom has 3 sisters. It's called the Four Sisters Ranch now, and so they're all in the pretty close vicinity. So I had a lot of my first cousins. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, and really small, tight-knit community. I had like 20 people in my class, like 200 people K through 12, and like one of my aunts was my principal, one was my math teacher.
Wow.
I never realized exactly how rare and unique of an experience it was. But I mean, I just, it was like one of those last generations that got to spend every day, and especially all summers, just like running around outside, like unsupervised, just out climbing trees and hiking and all of that. And yeah, it was great. And like I said, like my family was always really close. It was like one of those where we'd have lunch at my granny's every Sunday, which still goes on. And, I definitely took it for granted until like I left. I went to Texas State to school, and then Austin. But that's kind of when I realized like what a incredible place we had out there, and like how lucky and blessed we were to be stewarding that. That's when I just really wanted to share it with more people and let more people experience that sort of beauty and place. And at the same time, I wanted people around Utopia to be able to hear good music as well, because obviously that never happened around there.
Right, man, you really are from another time doing like that, because that sounds like something out of a storybook, or what was that, Little House on the Prairie kind of things. Like, you're going into the town for this and then going back to the farm, and it's really amazing.
And I guess there are some still lucky kids that get to grow up in those small towns, and but I hope that like technology hasn't taken away from the running around too much, which I'm sure it has.
Right.
To an extent. But I mean, the town, there's like no stoplights at like one restaurant. And we actually, another cool thing, I mean, Noah actually ended up offering acupuncture there a few years ago, and it like took off. We did not expect there was a desire and a demand for alternative wellness out in Utopia of all places. And so she got a really good clientele there. And we we tried the grocery store there too, because it's really an organic natural food desert. So we had the first like organic store there on Main Street in Utopia, but that didn't really take off as much for various reasons. So we have that on the pause for now, but yeah, we have a clinic going on. And then my cousin actually owns a coffee and beer and wine bar, and she's the first company to like sell beer legally there, because it's been dry forever. It just changed. So yeah, Utopia is a cool place too.
I'm gonna have to get out there for that festival for sure. We'll do something with Be Dadly.
Yeah, the one in a couple weeks, that's the one that's in Utopia, but the big one in October, that's actually in Burnett, which is an hour northwest of Austin. We moved out in 2018 because it was kind of just outgrowing the ranch, and kind of got to a point where it needed to grow a little bit more to be sustainable, which didn't work out at all. But we still found another home that's really amazing. Reveille Peak Ranch in Burnett is an incredible spot as well, that feels like remote and rugged and untouched, but it's like 10 minutes from HEB at the same time, which is convenient, because Utopia is super remote, and if you forget your guitar cable or something, like, you're just screwed.
Right. Right. So I want to ask you a question real quick. What are some of you guys' goals as parents? You got these little ones and you got the businesses, and have you guys thought about what are your ambitions for your little guys?
Overall, want them to be, obviously everyone wants them to be happy and healthy and intelligent and independent, and just, well-rounded individuals. Would like them to, know God and find him on their own, and have solid faith foundation, which is important. Most parents just want them to be safe and protected and healthy, and, have common sense and just integrity and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you don't know, like, you have to be a rocket scientist, and you must change the world, and you absolutely must bring health to every community you've ever stepped foot in.
Right.
But it's funny, we all share so many of the same goals, right? What's also funny is, as I've been doing this work, is we also share so many of the same challenges. Sometimes as dads, I feel like we have our guard up, because we're like, hey, I don't want them to know I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z. I don't want my neighbor to see that I get flustered or whatever. And the irony is that your neighbor's doing the same thing, And so I'm curious to know, like, what are some of the challenges that you guys are currently facing as your little one's becoming more mobile? And I'm assuming
a terrorist now, and just like will destroy and get into anything. So that, that's definitely a challenge. Like, and we haven't really been the best like baby proofers or any of that. We don't really have like a single area where she can just like go in and wreck whatever she needs to. So we're kind of always constantly on the cleanup cycle. But that's it. And she seems so developed and so smart already too. Like I regret like not being able to like have more focused activity and time and intention and developmental stuff going on with her right now, because I think she's ready for more, and we wish we could let her hang with more kids and get a little bit more socialized now than she is. But we're trying to maintain the balance of being able to put enough time and energy and effort into work, and like actually maintaining and providing a good space and just a good providing everything they need, even just paying for the bills and getting food and being able to go to the store for the food and all that, having time to manage all that and keep the environment safe, but also being able to dedicate enough time and energy, like directly one-on-one with them, and really showing them the attention and love that we want to. That's kind of a
Travis, you are
challenge.
Human. Good to see that you are human. Well, you're doing a lot, man. You're doing so much well. I just want to give you a huge kudos, by the way, just from the outside. You guys have a lot of good going on. They're blessed kids. The market, the festival, you're doing good all over the place, doing good for everybody in your community and in the state of Texas. And just so many people are blessed by your family.
Thanks, man. Well, I'm really excited about what you're doing. And it's such a hugely important thing to be taken on these days, as we know, like the epidemic of fatherlessness, and what a huge aspect of, and cornerstone of society, a good fathering and good parenting is. I mean, yeah, we really need this work too. So we're excited about it and here to support in any way.
Just so you know, it's been soul work all along the way. Like we fumbled our way through every bit of it, just like we all do, I think, as founders, as parents, as human beings. We kind of fail our way forward. But if there's ever anything I can do along your path, along your fatherhood path, and anything I can ever support you on, man, don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. Yeah, man, we can keep the ball rolling, and lots of fun stuff that we can pull together and do together.
Yeah, of course.
Let's let the listeners know where they could find out about Utopia Fest, and where they could maybe even check out Zoe Market. If you're ever in Buda, you're ever swinging through Texas, be sure to definitely check it out.
We also have a lot of stuff online available too that you can check out. One of the coolest things that Noah has created is a line of tinctures. It's called Zoe Medicinals, and it's available on zoemedicinals.com, as well as we ship a lot of even the food and other things we offer. We're shipping stuff every day, but they
tell me about those tinctures.
They created, right now, the first line has 8 different tinctures, which are basically the most common formulas that they would prescribe for patients over the last 6 or 7 years. And they've just been kind of fine tuning them. And, they were just kind of the go-tos for all these kind of common issues. Like this one's for hydration, but there's ones for like just, energy and sleep and allergies and anxiety. And they're incredibly effective and safe and convenient. They come in 1 or 2 ounce bottles that you can travel with and everything. And yeah, it's funny. Like she told me how in school, they basically teach practitioners to prescribe herbs, but you have to like give people like a grocery bag of herbs that they have to like go home and steep and drink like a big glass of tea, but which people are never going to do. So they start tincturing, and that's become a huge thing. They now work with almost 200 plants, and they do customized medicine based on a number of different diagnostics. You can get super scientific about it and get blood work and all that, or they can do like a tongue and pulse. But like I said, so these were just kind of the most common formulas that they would prescribe. And so they created their own line, the Zoe Medicinals line of tinctures, and there's a bunch of different formulas coming down the line. But yeah, so those are available at zoemedicinals.com. We have a basic website for the market, the Zoe Market, and it's there on Main Street. If you put in Zoe Market, it's going to be the main thing that comes up on Google and all that. And then it's utopiafest.com for the fest stuff.
Who do you have headlining this year?
John Schofield is going to be there, and Victor Wooten, Shovels and Rope. Charlie Tuna from Jurassic 5 is collaborating with Brownout from Austin, which is going to be really awesome. Suzanne Santo, and really awesome girl, and Sir Woman, a bunch of others.
And this is a real festival, like you actually camp there.
No, it's all about the camping. Yeah.
See, I love a festival that you camp at. I feel like there's that word. I feel like sometimes gets thrown around. This is a festival, and it's like you go home.
It could mean anything.
And I always love a real music festival where you're like camping, the full experience. You're disconnected for like days, and you get to connect with that community, be a part of that journey.
Exactly. And the thing in Utopia, like most people's phones never work, and even out in Burnett, a lot of times they don't. So you really get to disconnect and unplug. Almost everybody camps. And yeah, that's a huge part of it, because also we have programming that goes all night, but unlike a lot of other festivals that go all night, like it's all like relatively quiet. Like there's a silent disco, and then there's just kind of like a more acoustic low key stage that goes all night too. So, and of course there's coffee and activities early in the morning. So, I mean, it's a full immersive, all kinds of different experiences thing.
When you say programming, is this like, hey, like first thing in the morning, there's a sunrise thingamajigger?
Yeah,
like
there's yoga or something. Yeah.
Right.
Or workshops or mountain biking, hiking. The Reveille Peak Ranch is actually a mountain biking like destination, which does epic trails. So
you mountain bike, go listen to music, do yoga.
There's disc golf course we set up as well that you can see this music from. I mean, yeah, it's just like, and we have horseback riding. It's crazy.
It really does sound like Utopia. Like it's like a playground. It's like a heaven on earth, man.
That's what we're going for. I mean, it's like about the closest thing that I've seen.
That is incredible. And
just, the people too. I mean, it's just, that's of course what really makes it all just like the most positive, happy, loving. Last year was one of my favorites because we're kind of still on the tail end of the situation or whatever. So not everyone's ready to go out and do things. And we also didn't have any posted regulations or requirements like a lot of other events did. So I think that kind of turned away some people, but it brought in all these other people that were ready or that never stopped living, but were ready to like keep doing things and enjoying life And so just that type of mindset of people. And so, it felt like out there, it felt like that situation was never a thing. And you didn't see it, you didn't talk about it, you didn't feel it. It was just like regular, real life. It was really nice.
I got to tell you an experiential story of me at a festival with a morning yoga meditation workshop thing, right? I'm at Lightning in a Bottle, which was incredible. And I think this was 2015 or 2014, something like that.
Yeah.
Really great festival out of California. And I was just kind of getting into meditation about the year before that. And I was getting into it for different reasons. I had always had a prayer in the morning. I had prayer time, and I had time where I would give gratitude and thanks. And I've been doing that literally my whole life. Basically, while I shower, I'm bathing myself, but I also am asking God to forgive me for sins and to, and just expressing pure gratitude. And then also being, asking, deliberately asking that I be used as an instrument for the divine will. And so I started adding meditation to it, and I was like, this reduces stress, increases focus, et cetera, et cetera. So start doing meditation. And next year I am at Lightning in a Bottle, and I partied pretty hard the night before. Right. It's a combination of being like, you're trying to be intentional, and then you're also partying. So you're burning it at both ends of the night and the morning. And so anyways, I see on the programming that there's going to be a guided meditation. And now I'm all into meditation. So I'm like, man, I got to check that out. That's going to be awesome. So I made sure that the next morning I was going to get up and I was going to go to this sunrise meditation. And I did. I followed through exactly what I said. I woke up early. I grabbed at the time I had like this mala. So I grabbed my mala, I grabbed my yoga mat. I even think I had some crystals with me. I mean, I was full woo. And so I head over, I get to the stage, and there's all these other people. They're rolling out their yoga mats. I felt totally at home. I was like, I've got my yoga mat. I put my mala on. I got my little crystals set up. I'm in my meditation position. I'm holding my back straight, I'm breathing through my nostrils. Everything is good to go. And we're all waiting. We're waiting for the person to show up. Right. We're waiting. And then finally this person walks up onto the stage, and she says, hello there. And we're all like, hi, good morning. And she says, what are you guys doing? It was a very bizarre question. It was like, what? We're here for the meditation. What are you doing? You're the one with the mic. Did you know the programming that's going on here? Are we at the right stage? And she says, are you guys here for the guided meditation? Like, yeah, and people are yelling or whatever. And she said, oh, well, for all of you that have set out anything that could be broken, will you please take it and put it in a bag in a safe place? And I want you to bring it up to the stage. And that was like, threw us all off. We're like, oh, well, okay. So I'm going to pick up my crystals. I don't want crystals to break or anybody to get hurt. So I pick them up and I take and put them in a safe spot next to the stage. And I go back to my mat, and she says, thank you guys. And she said, oh, don't sit down. People started going to sit down. She says, don't sit down. And we're like, okay. And I'm like thinking, what kind of meditation is this? This is like nothing I've ever experienced in my life. And she says, actually, how many of you have something that you could wrap around your face? And we're like, well, nobody. And then all of a sudden she says, okay, there's a person right there. Raise your hand. If you don't have a shirt or you don't have a bandana or anything like that, but if you don't have anything, just raise your hand. People are raising their hand, and a person comes around and starts passing out these like bandanas. Okay. And so we're like, okay, we're very interested. And then she says, I want you to wrap that around your eyes. So we start tying a bandana on, and I'm like, man, this is going to be different for sure. I'm already a little nervous. I don't know any of these people. Now she's asking me to blindfold myself, and I'm like, okay. And she's like, hey, I want you to extend your arms out as far as you can. And I want you to make sure you're not going to hit anyone. And I'm like thinking, what kind of meditation is this going to be? Like we've already put our breakable items up there. We're not going to hit anybody. I am really wondering, what is this that we're about to experience? I might be at the wrong workshop. I am like still wondering if I'm at the guided meditation. And she says, okay, great. She says, all right, you guys, for the first part of this meditation, we are going to scream. And I'm in my head and I'm like, are you serious? And she's like, everybody give me an ah. And we're like, ah, just a little, and she's like, no, like, ah. And we're like, oh gosh. And she scared me when she did it. I was like, okay, ah. So now we're scared. And then she's like nobody can hear you and you need them to give me a scream. And so now we're all like, ah, we're screaming. And she's like, more. And we're like, what? And by the way, other people are sleeping. This is like the morning hasn't even barely started. I can only imagine people in their tents are like, what the heck is going on? There are people screaming over here. So we're screaming as loud as we can. And she says, okay, now flail your arms. We're like, what? And she's like, keep screaming and move your arms. And I want you to wiggle your arms and throw your arms about. And she's like, no one can see you. No one can see you. And I'm like thinking, everyone can see us. We can't see anyone. This is the opposite. And she's like no one can see you. So we're flailing our arms and we're screaming. And she keeps saying, more. And it was like, Jesus. And I mean, I'm just flailing and yelling and screaming. And it was like, it sounded psycho. Like it sounded absolutely insane. Like everybody sounded kind of crazy, And so we're just totally like screaming. And then she says, okay, now I want you to lift your arms up. Reach to the sky as high as you can, hold them to the sky. You're going to touch the sky and jump on your heels. So we're jumping on our heels and we're pushing the ground. Boom, 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 boom. And she says, jump higher. Boom, boom. And I mean, I'm getting worn out. And she's saying, and exhale and don't inhale. I'm like, I don't even know how you do that. I'm just like, and we're jumping and we're jumping and we're jumping and we're jumping. We're slamming our heels. We're slamming our heels. And literally during this moment, I actually start to feel myself feeling like I'm connecting my hands. I start to feel them tingle. My feet are tingling and I start to feel like this energy. And she says, stop. Everyone stop, freeze, keep your hands up. And now I'm like, I'm exhausted. And I'm holding my hand to the sky and I'm breathing and I'm feeling, and all of a sudden I literally started crying and I started feeling so connected to God, so connected to the earth, so connected to all of these other people, and so outside of my normal element, so outside of what I've normally felt. No guard, no protection, completely vulnerable, like a naked baby that has just been reborn. And it was absolutely beautiful. Whoa. And it was one of the most profound experiences I have ever had in my entire life.
That's awesome.
And she shook and rocked our world. And then she said, now you may lay down and meditate.
That is so crazy. I wasn't sure where that was going, but that's awesome.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And that happened at a festival. And it was like a morning festival thing. It was life-changing. It was really a beautiful thing. And it was absolutely what we needed. We all needed to just be woken up a little bit. Like how many of us were just sitting there putting our thoughts out of our mind? She got us to get out of our head. She got us to stop our thinking. She got us to do all of that without any traditional, actually it turns out that what she did is actually an older tradition than what we all do. And it actually, I think is Eastern, but it's not like.
It was reminding me of the thing from Wild Wild Country, I think, that some of those people were doing.
Yeah, it was a fantastic experience. And I went back at the end and I just gave her the biggest hug. And I was like, you just gave me, I just literally had a spiritual experience here. I am so grateful to you. And she said, the art of meditation is to get out of your head and stop your thinking. Did we do it? Like you did it 100%. Well, Travis, this has been fun, man. Thank you for blessing us with your presence and having, and even with all the kiddos and stuff and all the things that you're doing, we're just grateful for you.
Likewise. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. We'll do this again, brother.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you've received some value from it, please share it with other dads and consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform, and we'll see you in the next episode. Looking for support with your fatherhood journey? Go to bedadly.com and take our Dadly Disposition quiz and learn helpful insights on how you can overcome power struggles with your kids.